Hello and welcome back to the Reapers. Today we're in our C-101CC for the first time, and we're going to be looking at the cockpit. Before the cockpit, let's just have a quick look around the aircraft. So this is my first time here. My first idea is that it looks a bit like an Albatross, an L39. Do we know if it has any relation to that, or if it's just coincidence, or...?
I think it's probably just coincidence. If you look at trainers like these, they all look reasonably similar. Also, the Aviojet, for example, doesn't look too different.
Roger, yeah, that's a fair comment. I know the L39's got big wing tanks and stuff like that, so it's a bit different. Right, it looks like a pretty cool plane, to be honest. So this is a CC is a military jet.
Yeah, it's a trainer jet and light attack aircraft. It's also used for aerobatics in the Spanish Air Force.
Wicked, sounds good. Right, let's get on with our job, shall we? This is first thing I should point out. This is a high fidelity aircraft, which means it's one of the more expensive ones. Which means all the buttons, dials, knobs, everything works. Everything is modelled. Everything's touchable, clickable, interactable. So we're going to have to go through this entire cockpit. We'll start on the left. We'll wrap around the front and then end at the right. So starting on the very left, shall we? We've got a whopping great circuit breaker panel. These are often a bit off-putting, but we're not going to go every single one of these because we're going to put everyone to sleep. But they are interactive, as I see. But I can't. Oh yes, right-click brings them out. Left-click pushes them down. So they want to be in the down position. Is that right?
Yeah, generally speaking, you will just want to have all of them down. They do have a safety system where they will pop out if the circuit overheats. So then you might have to look into it while it is happening, and if you can't find anything, or if you find something and are able to fix it, then just pop them back.
Roger, we play without random failures enabled, so we usually won't have to deal with this problem, but you guys at home who want more of a realistic experience may have to deal with it. So that's there. Everything is labelled, so I'm not going to go over everything because it's just a bit pointless, but okay, that's there. Just out of interest, there's something that looks like a bit of a light above that. Is that in any way, is that a dash light? Or is it just absolutely, or is it nothing? Am I just dreaming?
I'm not 100% sure, but I think that might actually be the storm light. It does have a cockpit light that just lights up the inside really bright, so if you do fly into a thunderstorm or something and there's a lot of flashing, you don't get too dazzled by the flashes.
Roger, cool. Right, up on the sidewall here, we've got a thing. Is it more circuit breakers?
There's more circuit breakers, yes.
Yep, okay, so, yeah, that's fine. And we've got a legend on, appear to have a legend on the top there. Right, next. I mean, this is quite a relatively complicated cockpit for a small aircraft like this compared to, I think, the L39, but anyway, carry on.
It feels a bit cramped since they just stuffed a bunch more shit in there in comparison to the EB version, which is the basically civilian version or the trainer version.
Roger, which we'll probably go over at some point. So next is, we've got some sort of emergency button here, emergency fuel switch cover. So is that a cut-off?
That is not a cutoff. That is kind of a backup system to the backup system of the fuel system.
Interesting.
So, generally speaking, the fuel pumps will be in the automatic position in this aircraft. And that means as soon as the fuel tank goes empty, it'll just stop pumping, otherwise, the pumps can get damaged.
Roger.
Now, if there's an issue with the plane, it can happen that you need to set it to manual. At that point, it'll just keep pumping all the time until you turn them off. And additionally, if you have an engine computer failure, you might have to use this backup system where you actually manually tell the aircraft how much fuel to input into the engine.
Roger.
Which obviously leaves you with no safety measures, and it's all on you if you break the engine.
And, out of interest, the same thing happens on a car. If you run the gas tank dry and run the fuel pump, you'll burn out the fuel pump. I've done that a few times before on cars I've been modifying. Anyway, next to the right, emergency gear extension handle. Is this a gravity drop or an air assist drop, or don't we know?
I haven't actually tested it yet, to be honest.
Roger, we'll test that later, but emergency gear drop. Seat elevation, because we need a switch to make our seat go up and down. That's pretty cool. We've got some little electric motors in here, I guess.
Yep, works perfectly fine as soon as you have power.
Roger. Right, pitch trim buttons. So that trims the pitch.
That is emergency trim. So the yellow thing on the right side is just a light.
Okay.
The emergency trim breaker just gives power to the emergency trim system, so if that circuit overheats, it'll pop out.
Roger. Okay, we've got rudder trim left and right. Is this emergency use?
I don't actually think that is emergency use now, because there's no other way to trim the rudder as far as I can tell.
I agree with that. Okay, next. Emergency... Oh, hang on. No, this one's emergency trim, the one with the yellow...
Yeah, that's the emergency pitch trim, yeah.
I was looking at the one above, Charles, that just says pitch trim. Is that just the normal pitch trim then?
Yeah, that's related to that. So the thing on the left, next to the seat elevation to the right of it, is just a circuit breaker for the emergency trim. And the thing to the right of that is just an indicator light.
Oh, right. Oh, that's the circuit breaker. That's an emergency light. Here's the actual pitch trim. Right, I've got it now. And emergency speed brake, just in case presumably the other button fails, right?
That's retraction though, just retraction.
Just retraction, understood. Aileron something. Man.
Yeah, basically that disconnects the aileron actuators, so there's no hydraulic assist on the ailerons anymore. In case your hydraulic systems have an issue, that can happen, so there's a button just to practice how it feels flying it without the assist.
Roger, okay, we're going to move to the HO test. So we've got a thrust stick here. I'm just going to try and have a look at the buttons on top of them if we can. We've got a throttle idle detent, so that's something you need to click to be able to allow the throttle to move. Next at the top we've got a rocker, and that is... I can't click on that rocker, but that would be
brakes, and next to it is a push and talk button.
Roger, I'm having trouble clicking on them as the viewers will see.
Yeah, you can't click on them, you'll have to find them.
Roger, okay, and then we've got the thrust lever. Okay, yep, that's good enough. Just far towards the sidewall, we've got wing flap, so that's the flap lever. Yeah. Is it a system where we need to go neutral afterwards, or can we leave it?
Negative, you just leave it there. It's 3 positions, it's up, it's takeoff, and landing.
Oh, Roger. Right, we've got a little button down here below the thrust lever, landing gear warning silence button. So that is exactly what it says, basically.
Yeah, so what happens if you fly with the gear retracted on idle throttle, after I think about 10 seconds you'll get a warning, an audio and visual warning in the cockpit, which can get a bit annoying, so you can turn it off using this button.
Roger. Right, we've got a friction adjuster down here, so we can lock the throttle in position with friction if we want. That's fine. We've got a non-functional thing on the sidewall, an emergency thing, so we'll skip over that. Right, our next bank is the engine start. We've got crank and normal. So crank essentially gives me manual crank. What's normal? Just in the non-crank position?
Yeah, it's just normal engine start. Crank is just, if you flooded the engine with fuel, that's to vent it.
Blow it out, yeah. Engine start, and we've got an abort for engine start. We've got start and continuous ignition.
Yeah, so continuous ignition you generally use if you fly into, for example, a thunderstorm where there's a lot of water in the air, or heavy icing conditions, something like that. Usually you'll just leave it in the center position. Roger,
and we've got an ignition test here. We've got a GPU. What on earth is that?
That's your ground power unit. So you can connect it and disconnect it with this button.
Cool. Engine, we've got an anti-ice on, and we've got a computer manual. What on earth is that?
Yeah, that's the engine computer. Usually you'd have that on, so the manual light is off, because you're not manually controlling.
Oh, Jim.
The C-101 is a little bit interesting in the way that it has a lot of buttons that kind of serve as switches. Like toggle buttons, like the computer, for example.
Interesting. Okay. It's weird.
Generally speaking, you will have them light up amber, and actually tell them what's going on right now.
Roger. It's packed, but it's relatively logical. Anyway, let's go north. We've got, I think this is all fuel. So we've got a switch at the bottom left called left wing. We've got a transfer pump on the left, transfer pump on the... you better go through them. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, well, if you want to see a little bit better, you can click the big yellow handle that's probably in your face. It's the parking brake. You can get rid of that. So the 4 switches in a row are your fuel pumps. Usually you'd have them in the auto position forward. As I talked about before, you have the manual position backward as well. Mm-hmm. In front of them, the white indicators, they are just fuel pressure indicators. So as long as you have pressure in the lines, they will be green, and basically fuel will be pumping. As soon as they go red, that means these tanks are now empty. Mm-hmm. You do have 4 fuel tanks in this thing. 2 outer wing tanks. They have 1 pump each. Then 1 center wing tank with 2 pumps in it, and then you have the fuselage tank where the fuel is actually being taken from.
Yep. All makes sense. We've got fuel quantity selector here, so that selects which tank you want to look at the fuel quantity of, presumably?
Yes, basically there's only 2 modes. You can't actually look at the entire fuel because the wing fuel tanks are not included in this. Mm-hmm. But you can switch between center and fuselage tank, or just fuselage tank.
Roger, okay. We've got the gauge here for the relevant tank in times 1,000 pounds, okay. We've got a fuselage tank pump, and we can do something with it.
Yeah, that's just turning the main fuel pump basically to the engine from the fuselage tank on and off.
Is there a lot of shit you have to do in this? Do you have to change tanks manually or something weird like that?
Not usually, no. As long as you have the fuel pumps in auto, it will just go through them automatically.
Roger.
What you should do in a ferry flight technically is leave the center tank pump off and let the wing tanks empty first.
Roger.
Doesn't matter that much.
Okay, then we've got a fuel switch that's just going to be a cut-off, isn't it? A main cut-off.
Yeah, it's engine cut-off, yeah, a fuel cut-off.
Right, so let's work our way up. We've got landing lights, so... we can do... right, landing lights, okay.
We actually missed a little thing here between the seat and the left panel. That's the emergency fuel lever that I talked about. If you do have to feed fuel manually into the engine, that's what you would use.
Okay. Interesting. Fine. Right, landing lights. Trying to work my way around this. We've got right, retract.
Yeah, it's left and the right, and they have 3 positions each. So up is off, then you have taxi positions and landing position.
Oh, and there's left and right. Right, gotcha. Right, so I've got to make a mental note of that. Next is rain rep. Any idea?
Yep, rain repellent. It does have rain repellent liquids that you can spray over the canopy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's actually implemented in DCS, but usually it would just help with less water sticking to the windshield.
Roger. Now I'm trying to look past the brake. We've got AOA stall warning, test and something.
And the main power for the same system. So it's just a stall warning indicator.
So we just leave that on. Okay. Parking brake pulled out is active, is that right?
Yep.
Okay, we've got the pitot heat currently on. That could be off then. Fine. No,
pitot heat is, that on just will light up when it's actually on. So what you can read, just because you can read something on a button doesn't mean it's currently active. Wait until it's lit up in amber, then that's active.
Roger. Gear lever, down is down, up is up. There's no kind of lock on the gear lever or anything?
Negative. It will not retract while you're on the ground. It does have an emergency gear retraction button above, but I haven't actually gotten that to a guide.
Okay, so you got your 3 greens here. Presumably they're just green when they're down and red when they're up, or?
I think it will read it actually in words.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. Gear left, is that a clock? That's a clock, isn't it?
That is a clock, yes.
Very nice. Right, we've got 3 lights above.
Yes. Also, big yellow lever between the parking brake and the clock. That's your canopy locking handle.
Oh, yes. Whoops. Right, canopy locking handle. Okay, yeah. Take note. Don't forget to do that. We've got markers. Are these inner and outer beacons, or have I read this completely?
Inner, outer, and center beacons, yes.
You get center beacons now, do you?
Apparently you do.
Right. So we'll be doing that. So that's VOR approaches, ILS approaches. We'll be going over that in the, if we can get it to work, the ILS landings.
One thing to note, lights that look like this, you can generally test. So if you click on them, as long as you have power, they will light up, and obviously you can scroll them as well. You can dim them or make them brighter.
Roger. Okay. Right, I think I'm going to jump. I'm just thinking what's going to be easiest here. I think I'm going to jump to the top left now. This is where it starts getting complicated. We've got flaps. Are these 3 lights for the 3 positions?
Yep.
Right, so that's that. Air brake, you got on or off basically, in or out, however you want to describe that.
Yeah, also if you're at an intermittent position, since those air brakes are not binary, they'll just show like a diagonal line.
Roger. We've got a master caution light here.
A master warning, because it does have a master caution as well, that's on the right side.
So what's the difference between warning and caution, Star? Come on, have a go at that.
Warning is more critical. Caution just means something's not quite right. Warning means you have a problem.
Interesting. Okay, next, trim. We've got rudder trim, there being neutral. We've got roll trim, there being neutral. We've got elevation. Pitch, presumably that is neutral there at those triangles.
Yep.
Right, we've got a good old-fashioned speedo in knots. IAS up to 450 knots. That's a bit ambitious from what I hear.
It is. Also, there's actually your standby speedo.
Oh.
The main speedo is right underneath.
Yeah, right. That's kind of weird. Okay, fine. Gonna go with it, Star. We're gonna go down and left. Have we got? Just trying to figure this out as I go. Is this pure? Oh, this is our VHF UHF radio. So I'm gonna guess, Star. I haven't even looked at this plane yet. I'm gonna guess you've got a VHF UHF main and a UHF backup. Is that right, or is that a wrong guess?
I don't think you have a UHF backup. You do have a second VHF.
Oh, okay, VHF backup. Yeah, different planes have different. Okay, I've done so many radios now, I can probably do this by heart. So we've got transmit, receive, and test. For some reason, I can't click on them properly, but let me.
Well, it's generally
just a test. It's just a test, right?
Switch. Yeah, I think one is just for lights, and the other one gives you a tone.
Roger. Squelch on or off. Squelch gets rid of the sound on the radio. We've got the power of the radio, 5 watts to 20 watts. Now, every plane I've done so far, the one that's not 5 watts is not modelled, so probably only 5 watts works. Correct me if I'm wrong. A digital channel display, I'm presuming that's going to be there for what channel preset you've selected.
Yep.
A preset knob, that's going to be a preset knob, turn left and right to change 2 different presets. Presets will be set in the mission editor. Next, preset, I never know what these are called.
Manual frequency selector.
Yeah, there it is. So we can choose G for guard here. Guard is a constantly monitored emergency channel, probably 243 for this.
Oh no, that's like the master mode switch you mean. I thought you meant the thing above.
Okay.
So it's got guard, manual, and preset. Yeah.
Yeah, guard. So if you're in trouble and you haven't got time to type in a preset, and if your engine's blown up or something, go to guard. That will be monitored. That's your emergency. Manual allows you to turn it to select a manual frequency, and preset uses this knob to change the preset. And we're going to go over this properly on the fucking radio video anyway, so I don't know why I'm bothering. Master mode off, A3 plus guard or direction finder. DF is direction finding. ADF for just to keep things simple allows us to navigate to beacons. A3 your basic on mode.
Here.
Pardon me, Star.
DF is not implemented here, so it's just the E3 and the A3 plus G you'll worry about.
Noted. A3 is basic mode, so you can listen to whatever you're listening to, plus you can receive guard as well. Okay. Off, right, and you can change your left and right mouse click to change your manual frequency there. Right, next. Backup ADI question mark?
That's correct.
Backup ADI artificial horizon, currently caged, and a button here presumably to adjust and or uncage. Cage standby, yeah. And adjust. Not going to fuck with that. Next, big button. Is that an Admiral's doorbell?
Is that a what?
Admiral's... Oh, God, Stahl, you're so uneducated. So this is, in plain combat planes, you usually have an Admiral's doorbell, especially naval planes, and if you press it, it basically sets you up for air-to-air combat, so it dumps all of your stores apart from your sidewinders or whatever you've got on your wingtips. I'm guessing this is an Admiral's doorbell. It's called an Admiral's doorbell because if you drop it, you have to go and report to the Admiral of the fleet to explain why you dropped all that hardware. I'm guessing that's what it is. Yep, that's fine. We've got a light test here, which I'm guessing is probably a light test.
Yeah, it's for your weapons panel, although from what I've seen, it doesn't actually work.
Roger. Next, just before I forget, we've got an angle of attack meter here, all the way up to 50 degrees angle of attack. Holy cow.
That is not quite accurate, because the angle of attack meter in this aircraft is in arbitrary units, and basically that goes up to 25 degrees, which would be 50.
Yay! Finally, that explains my quandary with the Su-27 and Frogfoot. Because they always displays double, and the F-15 displays double what the actual angle of attack is, and I'm like, what the hell? Why are you saying I'm at 20 degrees alpha when I'm clearly at 10? And because it's an arbitrary unit. Well, that's retarded, Star.
Yes, it is.
Everyone in the world ever works in degrees. You know, nerds might go into radians, but yeah, everyone works in degrees. Oh, you know what?
Well, it's more precise, I guess.
You know what? I'm going to get angry if I carry on that. But that is that. We don't talk about that anymore. Next, we're going to go to what looks like ordnance selection, but we're going to check this left thing. Fixed weapon switch cover. What the frick?
Yeah, that is this little switch underneath that just sets your the sight for your main gun to air-to-air or air-to-ground mode. And if it's off, you can't fire it at all. Noted.
Right, now we've got a bunch of pylon illuminations here. I'm going to have I don't like to guess. So you've got three different types of lights that can come on. So I'm guessing the top is that you've got a weapon on that pylon. Is that the top light?
Negative. Top would be weapon is selected. That starts to light amber.
Yep.
Bottom left is a green light. It'll come on if you have something on that store.
Yep.
And bottom right will say NS in blue, which is no store, so empty.
Empty, roger. Right, we've got, is that master arm at the bottom left?
That is a master arm.
Roger. arming screen for bombs, question mark.
Yep.
So we've got... Yep.
Also main modes likely to the right of that, whether you want to fire bombs, rockets, or any other stuff.
Roger. Okay, you know what, Shah, let's not dwell on this. We're going to go over this on the weapons tutorials. There's no point babbling people at this point. That's fine. Ripple time, obviously, so if you want to change your ripple time in milliseconds, which we'll go over on the videos. Oh, we're going to have to do some rippling on those videos then, Shah. Right, okay, fine, we'll get that done. Selective jettison here. I can't obviously see how this works. We've got off, inboard, oh, I see, center, outboard, and then the actual jettison.
Exactly. It's very, very straightforward. It's just you can only drop in pairs of pylons, as you say, inner, outer, or center.
Yeah.
And the button above jettisons, whatever is selected.
Yeah, I got that. Just out of interest, do you drop it in pairs of bombs, or can you go single bombs?
Can go single bombs, but I do highly not recommend it, since even firing a single sidewinder will make you very lopsided in this plane.
Stroll does not recommend it. We've got radio lights here. I don't know why we've got these. Something to do with navigation, which is the active ADF, or?
Those are transfer buttons for radios and navigation. So basically, if you push the button, you toggle between which of the two cockpits has control. Oh,
fucking, it's got two cockpits. Oh, God. I thought it was going to be an easy day. It's not going to be an easy day. Right.
So it's quite simple. Whoever has an amber light in the cockpit has currently control over the said radio or navigation system.
Right. Okay, understood. Next, HSI. Is it... No, backup HSI, question mark.
RMI, radio magnetic indicator, so that is for your
ADF.
That is for your VOR and TACAN, which this version of the C-101 does not have. The EB does have TACAN, so the yellow yellow arrow would be TACAN and the white one is VOR.
Well, TACAN's tactical navigation. Why the hell doesn't the CC have TACAN?
Yeah.
Fucking retarded, man. Okay, so here's your radio compass. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Master speedo. So in IAS, knots, and a Mach meter. And is the hashed line our maximum recorded?
No, that's not maximum recorded. That's basically a never exceed or a max safe speed.
Roger, that will do that. Right, so we're going to jump up to the gun sight. This is a gun sight, and here we've got depression. So let's have a look here. We've got depression angle. We can change that, which we will be doing for gunning and rockets and bombs and everything we do actually. We've got whether we want it auto, manual, or test. So there's the gun sight, how it aims, and on or off for the gun sight. Okay, that's a
very straightforward. Although the auto mode should already give you preset depressions if you're selecting, for example, bombs or rockets.
Yeah, actually, that sounds pretty cool. Primary ADI, artificial horizon, primary point of this is to tell you your roll, and although it doesn't seem to have a roll on here, which is weird, well, it does, it's just not recorded in numbers. So here are your wings, you can tell whether you're rolled, and you can tell your pitch, sky, ground. It's also going to be used for navigation. You're going to have...
roll scale, by the way, along the top edge.
Yep, got the roll up there, roger. We're also going to have navigation. We're going to have a localizer top to bottom line to give us guidance for azimuth, and a glide slope line left to right to give us elevation guidance. We've also got, actually I don't know this ADI enough to explain what the symbols are on the top of there.
It actually has, it's almost everything in one device.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Radar altitude, everything. Wow.
Yeah, so bottom right would read radar altitude. Bottom left DH stands for decision height, so that's when you come in for an instrument approach. You can actually set with the knob at the bottom right decision height in advance, and then you'll know when you have to decide whether you want to land or not.
Roger.
Then you have... you do actually have a turn indicator that's at the... and also a slip indicator. So slip indicators are at the very bottom, turn indicators right above that.
Yeah, got it.
On the left side of the ADI, you do have a speed indicator. So if you want to hold a certain speed, it's used for that.
Roger, I was wondering what that was.
And on the right side, I think that's also a glide slope indicator.
Jeez, this is going to be interesting doing ILS with this thing.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Although, actually, last time I tried it did try to run me into the ground. But
Oh, you know what? I got the same with the L39. I bet it's bugged as well. We've got decision height set button there, tests there. Okay, well, anyway, we're going to go through that properly in navigation. I don't want to make this a 3-hour vid. Right, HSI and X, your main navigation, it's top-down view, compass rose around the outside. This is the direction that we're heading. This pointer, the green one, is presumably going to be our point of interest, our ADF, or whatever we're navigating to.
where do you see a green pointer?
The big green needle star. The green one.
Oh, yellow in my opinion, but okay.
Oh, God.
That's your course setting. So you'd use that, for example, if you want to intercept a radial to an ILS beacon.
Okay, the international sign for a course is 2 lines, not a single line. Why have they been different? Are you sure you're right? That looks like a... Oh, shit, you're right. Yeah. We haven't got TACAN, have we? Right.
No, we don't. Also, if you look at the center part, there's a part that's a little bit thinner. That thing can actually drift left and right, so that will give you a drift angle.
Right, okay. I need to deconfuse this for the people. So, okay, so the green is actually a course, so you set the course yourself, and you will fly to that course in collaboration with your radio compass here. So we will be doing that. And you said there's a drift angle needle. Is that in the middle?
Yeah, it's the yellow thing in the middle. It'll just go left or right.
Interesting. And do we have a course deviation line, or is that not a thing in this? Probably not a thing if you don't.
You see the little... Wait, well, that is the course deviation line.
That is the course deviation line. Yeah, right, okay, yep, gotcha, fine. Yeah, we'll go over that properly, that's fine. Do we have the ILS information here as well, or is it only on the ADI?
You do have the ILS information here as well, and insofar as it will help you... Actually, no, you don't. I'm sorry.
Yeah, roger. Okay, well, I don't want to go too much, but you've got course select there. You're going to select yourself. Distance here to... Hang on. How can we have a distance if we don't have TACAN? Man, this is confusing.
I think VOR can still...
Oh, VOR can do
get a distance if you have... Yeah.
Oh, man, aviation's so confusing. Right, I keep saying... I've said ADF through this whole video because it's radio ILS communication. This is VOR, which does actually have ranging. So it is going to be... We are going to have ranging. Yeah, okay. Anyway, we sound like we don't know what we're talking about, and that's true, but we're going to sort this out for the navigation video, so let's not dwell on this too much. We're just looking at the instruments at the moment. Right, below...
Well, there's actually still a couple more things to talk about on the HSI.
Yeah, roger.
First of all, that yellow needle is hiding a pink one. That pink needle will show you your direct path towards whatever radio navigation equipment you're currently targeting.
I get it. Okay.
And also you do have... You see those little...
Yeah, I see them, yeah.
Orange squares on top? The little orange squares you can just set to a certain heading that you want to hold personally. The yellow one you'd use to get on that heading, get on a radial, and the orange one will just stay on that heading.
What I don't see is any adjuster knobs to change a lot of this shit. Where's the adjuster knobs?
Adjuster knobs for those are on your right, next to your right butt cheek. They say course and heading. They are yellow and orange.
Serious? You've got to adjust it down here?
Yeah, on the back seat it's actually underneath the HSI.
I'm not looking forward to that, Charles. Why didn't they put them on HSI? That's crazy. Alright, you know what? Fine. Next, this is what to do navigation.
Actually, there's even one more button. It's on the right that says ADF and nav. That will switch whether the pink needle will look towards a VOR or an ADF beacon. So
we do have ADF and VOR in this, that's what you're telling me now?
Yes, we do. We do not have TACAN. On the other hand, the EB version does not have ADF, but it does have TACAN.
Right. This is weird, man. Okay, fine. Navigation stuff here. My navigation, aviation navigation, just isn't really good enough to handle this, but we've got VHF antennas. So for the radio receptor, we can use an upper or automatic or a lower antenna. All planes have something like this, don't they? Similar.
Yeah, just has 2 different antennas. You can select either or just leave it on auto, then it will try to use the one that has the best reception.
DME hold. Can you explain what DME is, or don't you know?
DME is distance measuring equipment. So this is kind of weird. I'm not entirely sure why you would actually use that, to be honest. But what you can do...
You need the DME for the VOR, don't you?
Yes, you do. But the thing is, I mean, specifically this switch is kind of weird. Because it's not a power switch for the DME.
Yeah.
What it does, if you're tuned into a VOR station and you then switch to DME hold, it will keep measuring the distance towards that VOR station, even if you then tune into a different one.
Okay.
So again, I'm not sure why exactly you would use that, but it's there.
Well, look, most viewers who watch these things know more than us anyway, so let us know what the hell you're going to use that for. Right, please. Radar altimeter, question mark, whether you want it on or off?
Yeah, although frankly it doesn't seem to matter because I think it works either way, but...
Okay. Elevation, no, something test, no idea.
Emergency locator transmitter.
What the hell's that?
Well, basically it's a beacon that will start transmitting as soon as it measures something like a strong impact. So as soon as there's really high G's, it just assumes, okay, we've hit the ground somewhere, we've crashed, and we'll now transmit an emergency signal.
Okay.
If you set it to the test position, then it will just transmit continuously, regardless of the G meter that it has, which can be used either for testing on the ground before you take off, or if you do manage to land safely somewhere where you don't want to be, you can also just turn it off.
My nerdiness wants us to try it out and come and rescue us in a helicopter with DF. Oh, that's crazy. Right, we're not going to do it, we ain't got time. Oh, and you know what? I'm getting stressed out about the navigation videos we've got to do now. I thought it was going to be a simple case, a bit of ADF, bosh, bosh, bosh. No, it's going to be VOR, DME, fucking... Anyway, let's not stress about it, Star. We'll be okay. Right, whopping great panel down here. Nothing springs to mind, no idea.
Well, first of all, you can probably, for the most part, ignore both of them. The bottom one, the large one, is IFF, so that's not really implemented anyway.
So they've very kindly given
us... The smaller one...
They've kindly given us buttons to press, all this lovely stuff, but it doesn't actually do anything in DCS. Yeah, that's fine. And
the other one you would use for navigation.
Yeah.
It's basically a gyro control panel, so you can set up your hemisphere.
I got it, yeah.
And all that kind of stuff.
So that's stuff you can do. What we prefer to do is just to do the manual conversions between true and magnetic rather than messing around with this stuff, don't we? It's just easier for us.
And also, it's... You know, you kind of need to know what you're doing, and I don't know, in the M8, for example, it just seemed to only break stuff when I played with it.
Right, let's not drag people down with this. Let's carry on to the top right. We've got a fire button. Pew, fire. We're on fire. Caution. Something is not terribly bad. It's not enough to be a warning or a fire, but it's a caution. Okay? And the two little ones on the left, what are they?
Anti-skid indicators. So as soon as... If your anti-skid has an issue, you will see anti-skid in red writing. And you can also just turn it off if you press the button.
Roger. Something to do with gun, question mark, next?
Not only the gun, it's just a little indicator panel. So, the knob is, as far as I can tell, useless.
Sweet.
According to the manual, you would set how much ammo you have in the cannon from the get-go. But it doesn't seem like you actually have to set that. To the right of that, which is currently completely black, is an ammo counter for your gun.
Yep.
On the left, where it says arm, that just tells you you currently have armed bombs that are ready to drop. Arrow would mean that the settings you currently have on your SCAR, which is your weapon selector panel in the bottom left, just are invalid. So something's not right. You are mixing and matching stuff that you shouldn't. The pylon lights show you which pylons are currently selected. And the cancel button kind of pauses or freezes your attack settings, your SCAR settings, but leaves you in a safe mode where you don't drop anything on accident. And the moment you press it again, you can just keep going with exactly the same settings you had before.
Is this something you actually use, this panel?
I don't know. I mean, I suppose you could, for example, set your weapon settings up on the ground and then just use this as kind of a master arm, so just if you feel like it, or if you just think you're not going to be engaging anything for a while and you don't want to knock anything off by accident, you could also use that.
Right, okay, let's push on, Star. Primary altimeter or only altimeter, barometric, thousands of feet or hundreds of feet?
It is on the left. You have a counter in the center, and the needle is hundreds of feet.
The needle's hundreds of feet. We've got a total counter in the middle. We've got R, Q, FE, or Q and H. This is where... That's Q and H, the MB.
That's Q and H, yeah.
That's Q and H. And in HG, That's the third type that I still don't understand. That's 29.92 air
Well,
pressure,
that's
isn't
just the American version, isn't it? The American unit.
it? And we've got...
So it's convenient to have both.
And here's where we can adjust the QNH, and yeah, that's fine. Understood. Vertical speed, so if you're going up, then it's going to be this many feet per 1,000 feet per minute, or down this many 1,000 feet per minute. It's pretty easy. Backup altimeter, question mark?
Yep, exactly that.
Okay, that's fine. And at the bottom, FD bright.
So that relates to the panel straight to the right of it. That is your flight director, and that just means how bright the lights are, so dim or bright.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll come back to flight director. Top right. We've got a pressure gauge. Main hydraulic press.
Yes.
Okay, and we've got MPR at the bottom right, a light.
I have no idea what that is, to be honest. It was not in the manual, so...
Ignore it.
Fuck knows.
I bet it's a hydraulic pressure warning lamp.
I mean, the funny thing is they had a picture of the cockpit, but that button wasn't there, so...
Right. Yeah, welcome to DCS. Right, in times 1/10. So we've got 10% of engine fan
that's
speed.
N1. That's your low pressure compressor.
So that's the front compressor, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Don't worry for it. It's okay, so that's the speed of the fan, basically, in percent. Don't go past 100%. And what are those three digital dials?
They'll just tell you the percentage in 2 digits with a comma with decimal.
Okay.
So that's something that's quite convenient about the C-101, actually. A lot of these gauges do actually give you direct readouts as well.
Okay, fair enough. We've got a fuel flow here in pounds per hour times 100. And,
yeah, exactly.
And fuel's got fuel used there.
That's kind of weird. It tracks how much fuel it has used and what the current fuel flow is. The actual fuel indicators at your left knee have been there before at the fuel panel.
Okay, we've got reset button to reset it and a test button to go there. Okay, ITT. So this is the heat of the internal engine.
Yeah, it's your inter-turbine temperature.
Yeah, that word. What he said. It's basically the turbine temperature, and for some reason it can go all the way up to 1,050, where most planes can't go above kind of 800. So that scares me a little bit. Oh no, it's percent. No, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one.
No, it's not percent. I mean, the green area is only 950.
Yeah.
But
okay, well, fair enough.
Generally, you're not going to be that high.
General engine oil pressure, I'm guessing.
That is temperature.
Oh, sorry,
yes.
Temperature of the oil. Right, yeah, my bad. Okay, so you've got to keep that in the green. Bottom down the left, N2. So this is the high pressure turbine, high pressure compressor.
Yes.
So this is high pressure compressor speed. Oh, you know what I'm trying to say. So as we go further to the engine, the higher the compression of the compressors, higher the pressure. This is the next stage, basically, N2. Same and speed. Okay, oil. Now it's oil pressure. Keep it in the green.
Yep, pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So if it's too high, you've got too much oil. If it's too low, you've got too little oil. Right. Or your oil pump's gone. Oh, you got a leak. Right. Accelerometer in a really weird place. This should always be right at the top, I find. Otherwise, it's useless. How many G's you're doing positive, up to 7.5 max, and minus, wow, that's ambitious, -4 low, and it will probably have marking needles that record your maximum.
If you actually press the push to set button, you'll see that it resets.
Yeah.
It's currently not entirely zeroed.
Roger that. V, I have no idea. Brain's gone dumb at this point.
It's just a voltmeter for your main buses.
Oh, right. Yeah, 30 up to 35 volts, yeah. Right, go on and shoot on the flight director. I know you've been looking forward to this, Joel.
Well, the flight director basically just tells primarily your ADI needles what to show you. So I find that in the C-101CC, most of this stuff is actually not implemented.
Yeah.
In the EB, you do have a similar panel. It looks a bit different, but it's pretty much the same settings. So heading would just keep your current heading. Nav, I'm not entirely sure. I think it would bring you towards whatever nav aid you currently have selected. Approach would be for landing approach, ILS approach. BC's back course, so if you come from the other side of an ILS beacon, not every airfield does support that. I think I actually looked it up. I think in the US it was about 3% of ILS airfields that support that, but it is a thing. VR approach mode, altitude hold, VS is vertical speed, IS is indicated airspeed, and standby is kind of just a reset that gets rid of the needles from the EDI.
So, are you telling me this is autopilot or it's guide? Is it guide?
No, that's the funny thing. It's just guide. It's like you're being your own autopilot. It just tells you how to fly.
Okay, I mean, it all sounds perfectly logical, to be honest, and quite good. So, okay, that's fine.
It's pretty decent, yeah.
We have an air vent heater. This squirts hot air or cool air into our body. Next, we've got a big lever. What the deuce is this? This is a... do not pull that ever, unless you're on fire. Alright, master indicator / warning lights, question mark?
Yep.
Not master control, I don't know why I said master, but yeah, that's fine there.
Oh yeah, master, warning, caution, and indicator panel, basically.
There we go. Warning, bright... Warning, there, and if you want to adjust the brightness of it, no idea why you would, but you can do it there. Sweet. Bus transfer, anything we care about?
You missed another thing to the right of the brightness thing. It's just a test switch for the caution panel.
Roger. I'm going to struggle to see that, to be honest. I'll take your word that it is there. Bus transfer, is that a thing or not a thing?
Yeah, that is a thing, but it'll require a little bit of explaining how the electrical system works.
Oh, God.
So basically, this aircraft has a DC generator. The DC generator is connected to 2 AC inverters. Although only one of them is usually active. So you have a backup one that's exactly the same as the first. The inverter supplies power to the primary and the secondary buses, as well as the essentials bus. So this button is all about the essentials bus. As the name says, all the essential stuff that you really can't lose are on the essentials bus. Usually, the primary and the secondary bus will be connected, but you can disconnect them if you have a problem with one of them. And what this button does, usually the essentials bus is connected to the primary one, but if you do need to switch to the secondary one, you can connect the essentials bus to the secondary one instead.
Okay. Next, we've got an inverter switch, normal operation off or standby. Okay.
That's exactly what I said. You have 2 inverters, and normal it's the primary inverter, and it's the backup one if you set it to standby.
Roger. Bus tie on or off. Generator.
Bus tie is the connection I talked about that connects the primary and the secondary bus.
Roger. Generator, basic generator off, on or reset. GFOV, any idea?
It's just a test switch for the generator.
Oh, right, okay. Down, I can't, is it say batteries? I think it does, doesn't it?
Batteries. So you have the main battery switch in the center, and you can isolate and turn off the batteries to the left and right. They also have little warning lights that will come on if the batteries start to overheat.
Roger, sounds good. Right, let's move down. We've just got this one panel to do, which looks pretty easy.
Just a little thing on the top left of the dash.
Looking?
It's our good old EOA indicator, basically.
Red light. I can't.
Yeah, it's right above the master warning.
Yes. Oh, it's your AOA indicator.
Yeah, so if you're on green, then you're nicely on an efficient speed. If you have the red things on top, then you're too slow. So too much AOA, and the yellow things on bottom would mean too fast.
And that's for landing, yeah.
Yeah, will also light up in general flight, I think.
Now, also another one we missed above the markers on the left. There's a turny thing. Have you seen that?
Of the markers.
Super
Oh yeah, that's a red light. We have a couple of those. There's also one on the left wall, for example. If you look underneath your boarding ladder a little bit. There's also one opposite on the right wall.
This plane is highly modelled. I'm not going to lie.
Also, while we're looking around, looking at random stuff, we do have a mirror on the main frame of the canopy, and a magnetic backup compass with a light switch also.
Hello mirror, that's pretty cool. Roger, okay, very good work. Just before I forget, we've got a magnetic compass, sorry, yeah. Right, well done. Next, let's get working. Oxygen, how much pressure of our oxygen in times 100 psi? I don't understand the second one.
The second one is your cabin pressure altitude, so how much...
I never understand this.
Okay. Outside altitude, the inside pressure of the cabin relates to, so to speak.
Okay.
So, I don't know, if it's 5,000, then you have as much pressure as you would usually have at 5,000 feet outside. So, generally speaking, this will decrease a little bit if you gain altitude at a certain altitude, it will just start to hold that pressure.
Yeah.
So it doesn't get too low.
I get it. Yeah, I'm with it.
But if you then go, I think it was above 10,000 feet or so, then the difference between the inside and the outside just becomes too large, so it needs to drop down even lower.
Okay, fine. Lighting panel, this is something I like. I like my instruments bright. I like my consoles bright. I like my anti-collision on. My formation bright. My nav lights bright or dim. Okay, that's pretty easy. Cockpit, I like my lights on, and I like my floodlights bright.
Well, the floodlights, the auxiliary lights, are the red lights we talked about. Personally, I'm not a big fan of that, but whatever floats your boat. And the cockpit ones are really bright white lights. That's what I mentioned before. If you fly into a thunderstorm, there's a lot of lightning, so you don't get dazzled by the flashing.
Roger. Okay, next down, is this what we would call our VOR? Is that the correct thing to say?
Yes and no. It is your VHF and VOR panel. So on the left you have a comms radio, and on the right is your VOR.
Oh, so is this our radio 2 then? On the left?
Yes.
So this is our radio, right? So this is our radio 2, so our VHF only radio, and it's essentially backup. Okay, so we've got off power test. We've got our frequency there. Presumably it's going to be preset only. They usually are for a backup radio. Volume.
No, you can set the frequency of this thing manually.
Oh.
Setting it is a bit weird. There's two things, DIS and ADF, that are kind of difficult to set if you don't know how. So you need to click for the main modes, which is the bottom thing, and scroll for the numbers.
Yeah, same as a Mirage. Right, so volume down there, bottom left and right click. Scroll here to change that. Scroll here to change that. Left and right click for that. Okay, fine. Next, at the top, we've got a test button. So is that right, or it's just a test button up there, isn't it?
It's just a test button.
Yeah. Then we've got a master mode off. Let's have a look at this out of interest. Off nav. So are we talking VOR there?
Yes.
Standby is going to be standby. DME. So I don't understand why that's separate from nav, but so that's ranging. That's ranging, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm also not sure why that's different.
Okay, so we just don't know nav well enough in this kind of thing. I can't read this. Can you read the next one?
It says OVRD. I'm also not sure what that setting actually does.
Roger.
Override, I take it, but.
Roger, we've got volume here, just like the other one, left and right click, and then we can change the freak, and we'll be covering this all properly in the navigation once we've learned it properly, so I don't want to dwell on this too much, but yeah. So that is our VOR, that is our backup VHF. There's a warning light over to the right, tele-briefing, non-functional question mark?
Not useful in DCS. That has something to do with... There's a system implemented in this aircraft where you could brief the pilot while he's sitting in the cockpit on a secure line that would just be plugged into the aircraft itself. And that's what that's used for.
Roger. We've got oxygen something here. It's oxygen valve.
Main oxygen valve.
Yeah, it's just on and off, isn't it? Yeah, right, Roger.
Talking about oxygen, we did miss a little thing at the oxygen pressure gauge. If you look, there's right above that gauge, this says front and rear.
Yeah.
Those are the oxygen flow indicators for the front and rear cockpit.
Oh, right. I was thinking about that. I was thinking, right, shit, we've got a rear cockpit, haven't we? God. Right, next is your basic audio volumes. So your ADF, your DME, your VHS, your different types of radios and things that make noise, basically, and you've got your volume control for each one.
One thing to note here, this has also a radio selector like in other aircraft, and if you do want to rearm in a started up and closed canopy aircraft,
intercom.
you will want to set it to int for intercom.
So intercom, VHF, UHF, master. We've got a master volume here for everything. You've got a call button. Oh, that's your push to talk, isn't it?
No, the call button, the push to talk is on the throttle. The call button is emergency only.
Understood. They're nicely labelled, at least we've got that. HSI, oh, here's where you change your course to stuff. Oh, God, that's going to be... Imagine trying to set that course there and looking at that at the same time in DCS.
Well, I'm sure if you're sitting in the cockpit, it's very convenient, but...
I'm not looking forward to that. I'm going to get the rear pilot to do that. So anyway, you can change your heading and your course. We'll go through in the nav videos. Next, ADF. So that's your VOR up there. This is your ADF. Now, I don't know VOR. I do know ADF, so I do know all about this. So we're going to go. We've got like an option at the top, and let me just click that. We've got. Actually, I can't work out what this button does at the top. It's weird. Have you seen that?
Just between the two things.
Yeah, but what's actually switching between? It's not obvious.
Well, the left and the right ADF frequency. If you look, there's a little white arrow that goes back and forth.
Oh, got it. Right, so there's yes, right, so we've got 2 ADF stations we can monitor, one inner and outer. We'll go through that later, and we can go, that selects the inner, that selects the outer, or the vice versa, sorry. That's
I'm
outer.
imagining this, by the way. Did the Gazelle ADF look exactly like this?
I can't remember, I've done so many planes lately. You got your basic tone off and on. Yeah,
you should hear your tone anyway, I think, as long as you're in antenna mode. It should override the...
Roger. So our main master mode at the bottom of this pyramid dial, we've got off, we've got antenna, we've got ADF, which is the navigation side of this, of what we're doing. This is radio based, and you've got your test. Okay, understood. Gain, which I think is the volume there with the mouse wheel. Your ability to change your various digits here on this pyramid gauge.
Now, one thing we should probably mention: the pyramid gauges are kind of difficult to handle because you'll only turn the center one if you scroll normally, and then you have to hold either left or right mouse button to change the top and bottom ones, and scroll on top of that.
That's going to be hard to do, isn't it? Right, okay, got that. Same over here. Right, so we'll go through this properly on the nav videos. Air conditioning, non-functional question mark?
Well, I mean, you can play with everything, but it's not going to do anything.
Because we're made of ones and zeros. Right, so that's that, and I don't think this is a thing back here. It's going to be a flight recorder or something back there. Yep, it is. Right, are we... let's just...
there's one more thing. There's the canopy fracturing handle to the right. It's the big yellow thing next to the air conditioning and ADF. I'm not entirely sure why it has that and the canopy jettison, to be honest, because according to the manual, this will actually set off explosive charges that just shatter the canopy. Again, not sure why you would use that over a canopy jettison. Maybe you just don't want entire canopies raining down from space over areas where people actually live.
It's potentially a training. I guess so. But it's also a training plane, so it's going to have lots of mistakes made in it. So if for some reason they can't jettison that canopy because they've jammed it because they're a retard, maybe that's why. Anyway, I don't.
Well, the thing is, the training version is actually the EB there. This is the light attack version, and the EB does not have this handle. Also, from what I've seen, it doesn't work.
Roger. Right. I don't know. I give up. Still. Right. That closes it, and then that locks it. Okay, we're ready to go to rear cockpit. Okay, we're now in the back of Stahl's aeroplane. That may make you uncomfortable, Stahl. Now, obviously, we're not going to go through everything. The question is there anything different? The circuit pack breakers are different?
Nothing major. The circuit breakers are generally less. Generally, there's a bit less stuff in the cockpit, so you'll find that you don't have all the navigation equipment that the front pilot has. Also, the course and heading knobs for the HSI are not directly underneath
Much better.
Yeah, and one thing you'll also notice, the flight director in the back, that's only indicator lights, you can't click anything. Okay. So only the front pilot has control over it.
Okay, I'm sure there's some logic to that. Okay, I'm going to fly from the rear with it. It's much better in the rear. Oh, all this crap's blanked off. Okay. Oh, look, the map case opens. Hello, map case. Goodbye, map case.
We do have a map case in this version. I thought it was only in the EB, but the EB is in the front cockpit as well.
Well, I never. Otherwise, everything I'm looking at appears to be identical. So that's good. You've even got a gun sight. Good lord. Okay, Stahl. I'm pretty... Hey, yours has got paint on it. Mine didn't. Anything else before we sign off on this video?
I think we've got it all.
Okay, that's pretty thorough. I hope that helps. And we'll see you later.